Back here on CBS Sports HQ, a new year, a new outlook perhaps for the year ahead. Most people, you know, they partake in the tradition, Katie, of setting a New Year's resolution. But how about some NFL teams? Because there are plenty right now that could use a new outlook for next season.
Ours included. Our team's
Correct.
included.
Ours definitely. More so mine than yours with the Jags. But we're going to take a look at some of the most disappointing teams in 2024 and set some new resolutions looking ahead to 2025. For that, we bring in B-Mac and Douzable. Guys, we're going to start with Liger's Jets because it only feels right. There was a lot of expectations for this team. They had, you know, a top 10 defense going into the season. Future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers, he was going to be healthy, take this team to the playoffs, maybe the Super Bowl. Instead, Robert Saleh is no longer there. He was fired after 5 weeks. They've missed the playoff for the 14th straight season. Liger, what should their 2025 resolution be?
B-Mac, Jack, Mox, it should be to do whatever it takes to get a former Jet in the head coaching role, and that's Aaron Glenn, and to pair him with Ray Agnew, who works with him with the Detroit Lions. He's the assistant general manager there. And I go into this saying Aaron Glenn makes the most sense because, one, B-Mac, you know this, as a head coach, first and foremost, you have to be a leader of men. If you want to change the culture in New York, you have to be a leader of men. I go back to the 2022 season when the Lions had Hard Knocks, and I remember Dan Campbell having every coach speak in front of the team. I don't believe there was a coach that galvanized and had every player or front office or coach in that meeting room more locked in than Aaron Glenn. Just the way he carries himself. And B-Mac, we know for the last couple of years, the Detroit Lions defense has kind of been their Achilles heel. Well, Aaron Glenn finally was able to change that around this year, and they were a top 5 defense before they just got murdered with injuries the last few weeks, right? So even with that, right, they've still been opportunistic on defense. So you know a coach that is able to adjust on the fly. That's what Aaron Glenn can do. And then B-Mac, it would mean something to him. Let's not forget, Aaron Glenn was drafted in the first round by my New York Jets, right? He was a 2-time Pro Bowl player by my New York Jets. Just to give you guys some background information, I do some work with the Jets. And when you walk into that building, they like to have all the greats on the wall. And when you walk in the front office side, as soon as you go up them steps, you see a big poster of Aaron Glenn. It would just mean so much to him to turn that thing around, kind of like they did in Detroit. And I say bring in Ray Agnew as a GM because we saw what the Detroit Lions did, right, with Brad Holmes as the GM and how that team was in purgatory, and he's flipped the script there as well. Plus, there'd be continuity between the two, right? Ray Agnew has worked with Aaron Glenn because they're both with the Detroit Lions right now. So Ray Agnew is a guy that not only is the assistant general manager for the Lions, and he's seen how Brad Holmes has built this thing up the right way, but he's also a former scout of the New York Jets. So he has dealings with the ownership. I was there when he was the head scout for the New York Jets, so he knows what the day-to-day looks like over there. So the Jets need to do whatever it takes to get Aaron Glenn and Ray Agnew in that building.
I love it. I love it because, to your point, in terms of creating a culture, your head coach has to be a leader. He has to be an individual that the players will instantly respect. When he walks into the building, they will instantly give him their ears when he is telling them, giving them what they need to do in terms of game prep and things like that. So Aaron Glenn has done a masterful job, not just in New Orleans. Look at, not just with Detroit, but look at what he did in New Orleans as well. And what he's doing with, you know, in terms of injuries, and they still haven't missed a beat. They still find ways to win. If you're the New York Jets, no question. I love that resolution. And outside of that resolution, Liger, if you're Aaron Glenn, you go into that situation, what do you do at the quarterback position as well? That could be an extra added resolution for the New York Jets, not just with the head coach, but also finding who will be the quarterback moving forward with that new head coach. But the most important thing you hit on, leader of men. That's who Aaron Glenn is. And clearly, that's something the Jets, they haven't had in quite some time, which has been disappointing in terms of winning and losing.
Well, I think the GM for sure, or the coach for sure, talking about Aaron Glenn. But I thought with the way that Liger set that up, almost that he was going to put himself in that position. It takes a Jet to lead the Jets. I was like, don't leave us.
Liger can do it. He can do it. I have faith.
He is a leader of men and of women as well here. Okay, now let's look at the other team in New York, the Giants, guys. Putting this lightly, the season has just been an absolute dumpster fire, right? You paid Daniel Jones all that money, only to release him in the middle of the season. You own the worst record in the league, but then you end up winning a game, getting yourself out of the first pick in the draft. There's a lot to unpack here, but what would your one resolution be for the G-Men? We'll start with you, B-Mac.
Resolution for the New York Giants: find a franchise quarterback. I echo that. Find a franchise quarterback. Here's why the Giants need to find a franchise quarterback, and this should be the biggest resolution for them in 2025. Since Eli Manning stepped off the football field in 2019, can I give you guys the names of the quarterbacks that have started for the New York Giants since Eli Manning walked off, 2019, right? Daniel Jones, Colt McCoy, Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm, Davis Webb, Tommy DeVito, Tyrod Taylor, Drew Lock, right? I would repeat those names, but I don't want to make Giants fans any sicker than what they're currently are right now. And get this, those said quarterbacks have combined for a record of 28 and 54. 28 and 54. That's the record for the Giants with those said quarterbacks. That's why it's overly important for them to go get a franchise quarterback, either via draft or something in the mix free agency. I don't know, but find a way. My best direction would probably be in the draft. Shedeur Sanders is my QB1. I think he can go in and change an organization like the New York Giants. But whatever direction you think you need to go, find out who that individual is and go get him. Because clearly they have missed the opportunity in terms of developing quarterbacks and getting the most out of the quarterbacks since the great Eli Manning walked off the football field. Daniel Jones, Colt McCoy, Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm, Davis Webb, Tommy DeVito, Tyrod Taylor, Drew Lock.
And yeah, the Giants currently with the 4th overall pick in the draft. So if it really is, a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders, they're going to have to do some trading up to get one of those guys. Let's go to another team that is in a similar situation as the Giants in terms of winning at the wrong time. We're talking about the Raiders. They just won back-to-back games to snap that 10-game losing streak. I don't think the resolution includes a tight end because it seems like they have one of the best tight ends for years to come in Brock Bowers. But Lige, what should their resolution be? Is it, it feels like it's also a quarterback.
Yeah, without a doubt, Jacqueline. Me and B-Mac are on the same wavelength. And to me, the New Year's resolution for the Las Vegas Raiders is do whatever it takes to move up to the #1 spot to draft Cam Ward. To me, he's my #1 quarterback. I know you said you had Shedeur Sanders. Cam Ward's my #1 quarterback. We go back to what it cost the Carolina Panthers to move up from 8 to 1 to take Chicago's pick at #1. And you see it right there on the screen, right? It took 2 1s, I believe, 2 2s, and DJ Moore. Well, if you're looking at it, the Raiders are in that same scenario. But do they have the subsequent piece that they're willing to part ways with? And I'm talking about players, not picks, right? Because people keep bringing up Max Crosby. In no way, shape, or form should the Raiders even consider putting Max Crosby in a trade package because he is the culture for the Las Vegas Raiders. So instead of giving up a player, I say throw an additional second in. So 2 1s, your 2 1s for the next 2 years, your 2 2s for the next 2 years, and then an additional 2 on the following year. So 3 2s and 2 1s to move up to get Cam Ward, because we've seen that Antonio Pierce has changed the culture for the Las Vegas Raiders. They've just been inept at the quarterback position. It's really hard to gauge a head coach. And be like, you just talked about this with the Giants. If you don't have a signal caller under center, like, it's hard to really gauge what a coach could do if he actually had a franchise quarterback. Antonio Pierce has not been allotted that luxury yet. He has not been able to have a franchise quarterback. So get him one in Cam Ward. I love what I saw from Mark Davis, and I know people will say the Raiders are winning at the wrong time, which essentially means they're losing right now when it comes to potentially taking a quarterback in the top 2. But I love that I saw Mark Davis in that locker room, and the way he was saying Raiders after a win. It proves that nobody just wants to lose to potentially tank to get somebody, right? Everybody wants to feel good. They want to change the aura for the Raiders, so they want to win games. Do whatever it takes, Mark Davis. And we know with Tom Brady coming into the fold that they're going to right this ship, but do whatever it takes to trade up and get Cam Ward, because if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you have no chance in the league.
Hard to argue with anything you said. I will say a resolution for Mark Davis might be to get a new haircut. That could be maybe on his list. Finally, guys,
Today is shocked that you're calling him out like that.
I mean, somebody has to say it, guys. Somebody has to say it. New year.
Yeah, he did.
New year, new haircut. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's talk about the Bears here. Bad on me on this one, okay? I drank the Kool-Aid. I sat here.
A lot of people.
I sat here with you, Lige, at the beginning of the season. I thought this team was going to be something really special. I took them in a bet to actually win their division. Ha, ha, ha. Joke is on me. Instead, 4-12, last in the division. The organization had its first ever in-season firing of head coach Matt Eberflus, along with defensive coordinator. I do believe that they have found their franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. However, what should their resolution be to support him?
For me, it's easy. It's easy. The resolution for the Chicago Bears in 2025 should be go get Ben Johnson. At whatever the cost is, I can care less. You tell Ben Johnson, here's a blank check. You write your price on that check, and we're going to give you what you need to be the head coach for the Chicago Bears. In terms of the Bears organizationally, a highly prestigious organization with tradition, championship pedigree. But one area they failed in has been head coaching. When you look at Lovie Smith, he's been the most noteworthy head coach since Mike Ditka in the 80s. Lovie Smith walked off the football field in 2012. Since then, they've dropped the ball at the head coaching spot. Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Nagy, Eberflus. Horrible coaches in terms of winning, setting the standard. So if you're able to go get the most coveted coordinator in the game right now, that's a consensus overall pick. You won't be considered a question like, what are you doing? No, we all would take Ben Johnson. He's been the most coveted play caller that was next up to be a head coach over the last 2 seasons, and not to mention the addition to by subtraction. Now you take a premier coach from your divisional foe in the Detroit Lions and you put him on your staff. And secondly, outside of just the mishaps at the head coaching position for the Chicago Bears, you talked about it, Katie, the talent they have at the quarterback position, right? Just imagine how we've raved about the Detroit Lions and the play calling, the creativity, and just the efficiency that we're seeing that he's been able to demonstrate with the Detroit Lions, doing the same thing with Caleb Williams. Because the last time I checked, in terms of just pure talent, Caleb Williams is a more talented quarterback than Jared Goff. But you look at what Ben Johnson has done with Jared Goff. I have the numbers here for you. Since becoming the OC for the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff numbers working with Ben Johnson in 2022, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4,438 yards, 65% in terms of completion percentage. 2023, 30 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, over 4,500 yards. He completed 67% of his passes. Currently in 2024, 36 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, almost 4,400 yards, a whopping 71% in terms of his completion percentage. Just imagine Caleb Williams working with Ben Johnson. Ooh. Yes, sir, Chicago. Y'all see what I'm doing right now. You feel it? You see the vision? Do you see it? You see the flea flickers and the throwback passes that we're seeing with Detroit, seeing with Caleb Williams and DJ Moore and all of those, and Cole Kmet. Think about Sam Laporta. You got Cole Kmet. They got Amar St. Brown. You got DJ Moore. They got J-Mo Williamson. You got Roma Douzable. You got Douzable.
Yeah.
You just don't have a coach.
Okay, B-Mac.
Jack said no. She wanted him for the Jaguars.
Yes, because we're giving our resolutions for our teams, B-Mac, and I'm listening to, Ben Johnson working his magic on Jared Goff. I'm thinking, no, that's my resolution for the Jags. Come on over to Jacksonville. It's a winnable division. We got our guy T-Law. Work that magic on Trevor Lawrence. He's got that big contract. He's going to be there. BTJ looks pretty darn good, if I must say. And we got some new facilities that we're cooking up in Duval County. So come on down to Duval. That's my New Year's resolution for the Jags.
My New Year's resolution for the 49ers is to bring back Robbie Gould. I have seen enough of Jake Moody. And by the way, don't draft a kicker again.
Oh, my goodness,
You can get those later. Bring our guy. I know, I'm on fire.
Katie.
Yeah?
Katie, that could be the Chicago Bears' New Year resolution as well. Because every team that has let Robbie Gould go, they wish they could have him currently, right now.
Yeah, they do.
They do. And look, Moody, Brock Purdy didn't play. He played perfect in the first half of that last game. He got injured in the second half, threw a couple picks. Fine. I'm fine with him. I'm fine with whatever they pay them. I feel like we're doing pretty good. You can't have a kicker that misses that many field goals in a game. So that is my New Year's resolution for the 49ers.
George Kittle believes in him. He said so.
George Kittle believes in everyone, and I love his heart. He's a good leader of men, and I appreciate that from him.
All right, Lige, B-Mac, we certainly appreciate it. Ben Johnson, come to Jacksonville. Just going to throw it out there one more time. NFL on CBS has got you covered for the final week of the NFL, the regular season, that is. Giants and the Eagles, that's in the 1 o'clock slate, and then the Chiefs and the Broncos, 4:25 Eastern, where the Broncos, they got to win if they want to get into the postseason.